we have to prove and reprove to everybody, and sometimes even to ourselves, because with all that vibe that you get from people, you start to question yourself.
Yes.
And that imposter syndrome is always hovering around us. I somehow in my heart, I always felt that just being a homemaker was not for me. I think I made a decision that I will strive to become economically independent and not depend on anybody else for even small things. And I remember when I actually went and he did give me the job after a week or so, I mean, the women in my family, I mean, mother, and all of them were really stunned. And they were like, what is it that you want to go and prove?
Exactly.
So somehow I felt that women were not given a chance to dream, and even if they dreamt, they were sort of never given a chance to blossom.
Hello and welcome to Stree At The Table. Our guest today is someone who's not just a powerhouse in business, but also a trailblazer for women in leadership and STEM. Vanitha Datla, Vice Chairperson and Managing Director of Elco Limited, has been instrumental in shaping the industry, pushing for innovation and advocating for gender inclusivity in traditionally men-dominated fields. From leading one of India's pioneering analytical instrumentation companies to serving on the boards of prestigious institutions like IIM Bodh Gaya, Vanitha has worn many hats and made a lasting impact. Today, we will talk about her journey, the challenges and triumphs of being a woman in leadership, and why manufacturing and STEM need more women. Get ready for an insightful and inspiring conversation. Welcome, Vanitha. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
It's my pleasure.
I cannot begin this conversation without actually being reminded of the first time I saw you. It was 2 years ago. And it is my ignorance that I was not familiar with this industry. And in a family conference, you showed up and with an audience that was largely 95% young men, talking about money and business and succession and success. I was just wondering, how there is just absolutely no young woman of business there. And then you came and you just didn't come and you made the room feel different after that. And for me you've stuck in my head for 2 years now.
Oh,
because some messages were so important. And today I'm really hoping to delve into some of what I heard that day, but I'm sure there's much, much more to who you are and what you have to say. So with that, another welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
And before I even ask any questions, it would be great to really begin from the beginning. So who is Vanitha and how was it like growing up?
Let me start by saying that I was born in quite a paradox, actually. I mean, my family is known to be quite progressive because my maternal grandfather, Padma Bhushan, Dr. B.V. Raju, had actually left his village, gone out of the state itself, went to North India, pursued a graduation in chemistry, then went on to set up a lot of manufacturing industries post his retirement from government service. So he was actually quite inspirational role model for me growing up. He had 3 daughters. Unfortunately, he didn't have sons. And the element of progressiveness was allowing his daughters to study. Yeah, but beyond that, I think that's where the progressiveness mindset sort of halted, because nobody ever thought of careers for women those days. And of course, I'm the granddaughter. I was born in 1967, and my father is actually a medical doctor, surgeon, and I had a huge ambition during my childhood to become a doctor. We had our own nursing home downstairs. We used to live upstairs. And my father was actually quite good enough to bring me into the operation theater along with him. I remember during my, I think, 11th and 12th, I used to stand next to him, give him the scalpel and things like that, with the dream of becoming a surgeon one day, but that unfortunately didn't happen. Those days in our state, we had very few medical institutions and medical colleges, and if one didn't get into the merit quota, of course the dream stopped there. But there was, I think, an opportunity for children to actually go to neighboring states, pay a capitation fee, and then join through the other route. I begged and pleaded at that point of time, but it just fell on deaf ears because my family thought that for them, the responsibility with a girl of a teenage age was that she had to get married into a good family.
Yeah.
So I think that was the dream for my parents and my grandfather. And of course, they sort of saw an eligible boy for me. And at the age of 18, I got married. And of course, my dream of becoming a medical student died at that time. Yes.
So this you know what had struck me a lot when you were speaking, and even now, is that when we look at, as a society, when we look at people of privilege, and especially women of privilege,
Yes.
we think it's a cakewalk. You're
everything
studying,
is handed
everything
on a
is handed
platter.
over. You know,
Yes.
the favorite child. She's
Yeah.
going to get this much dowry. She's going to be
Yes.
married to somebody. At that point,
Yes.
an NRI in the
Yes.
US was that this ultimate. But the life is so much more, and there's such a bed of thorns in that sense. It's a
Very
crown of
true.
thorns because you have the family legacy and the people who you care for and your own dreams, and everything is kind of clashing with each other.
So somehow I felt that women were not given a chance to dream, and even if they dreamt, they were sort of never given a chance to blossom. And I remember growing up when my grandfather used to take my brother and my other male cousins along with him to the factories, because by then he had already set up his manufacturing companies. So holidays, in between semesters, they would all get the opportunity to go and work. Of course, I didn't have any dream of getting into that space, because for me, getting into a hospital and getting into that space was what I dreamt of. And when I got married, of course, one of the underlying sort of things there was that if you become a doctor and if you study so much, it's going to be very difficult for us to get
find
boy.
a groom.
Yes. So that I think was also the idea that they didn't want me to really do well. They just said, do whatever you want until we get you married. And then, so I think, this was almost about 37 years back. Girls were not given any avenues to sort of look at pursuing a career. It was more, be a good homemaker and ensure that you are a good cook, you can take care of the house, and sort of all those sort of roles. I think we were conditioned at that point of time. And though I did sort of bend and pursue that, I somehow in my heart, I always felt that just being a homemaker was not for me.
Yes. And then at that point, did it also start bothering you that when people say that at least you have an education, you should feel very happy about it? 2 generations ago, nobody was
I didn't
taught.
even get educated completely, because I got married
At
when
18.
I was just turned 18, and I was just finished my first year of undergrad. And I think the last day of my exam coincided with my wedding rituals. So basically, after the summer vacation, nobody expected me to go back and complete my undergraduation.
And how did you manage that?
But I said, I didn't want to sit at home. So I told them that, college is reopening. I would like to go back. And everybody said, what's the point? You're already married, as though that was the ambition for a girl, that once you're married, everything else, you put a full stop to it. But I said, no, I'd like to at least complete my bachelor's. Because again, when I was in this 8th or 9th class, one of my friends looked at my palm. And she knew that the community that I come from really didn't allow their children, or the girls especially, to study and get a graduate or get a degree or something. So she said, Vanitha, I don't think you're even going to complete 10th because, your family will get you married. She
said that?
Yeah, she told me. She said, I don't even have an education line on your palm. That means that you're going to get married soon. And then you'll probably, even if you finish 10th or not, you may not even get to inter. And I know that you want to become a doctor, so just forget about it. And then that really hurt me. And when you're about 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, it hurts.
It feels that, oh my God, the world is sinking, and is what is there on my palm, is that going to be my destiny?
Yeah.
And then when I got married at 18, and I got married when I just completed my first year of bachelor's, and I thought, oh my God, is it going to really come true?
Seriously.
And so I did go back to college. I finished my second year, but then my husband moved to the US. So I went along with him, discontinued my studies. And after going there, I felt, oh my God, I think this is whatever is on my palm is coming true. I'm not even a graduate. So then I said, let me join the university there along with my husband. And I joined the university there. But then I did a lot of interesting courses, which I didn't get a chance to when I was back in India. Because in India, the education system is such that once you join something, you're forced to do
it's
that.
a certain cut paste.
Yeah, but there I did things like I learned the piano, I took a computer science class, and this was about almost 30 years back. So computer science was not that, very ingrained into the mainstream education.
But all that while, when you're in the middle and you are, it's great that you are also accumulating more kinds of interests and talents. But your passion or your big dream of being a doctor was
Didn't
out of your
happen.
hands completely.
Yes.
You're also in a different country where even your social support is not there.
True.
And in a strange way, you're also part of the herd, because that time this was hugely predominant. Very common to see NRI weddings like these, where girls suddenly were very traditionally raised but placed in a society that they were not used to.
True. But then see, what I really learned from that society was that independence comes at a very, very early age. And I saw when I went to university, I saw girls my age who lived alone, who were actually earning by themselves through part-time jobs, and they funded their own education. And here we are in India, that even if you're 60, 70, you still stay with your parents, you still have a common sort of financial support system. I actually loved that independence, and I felt that at some point of time I should be independent, both financially, taking my own decisions and sort of charting my own path, way ahead. But I really didn't know how to do it. So it was all trial and error. I sort of did a few things, did a few courses that I really loved, like psychology, piano, pottery, ceramic pottery, and I actually aced every subject that I took. So I knew that I had it in me to really do well in whatever I chose.
Yeah.
And then an opportunity came when we moved to the Bay Area, where my husband got a job, and I still continued doing all these small things. One of my friends was actually working for an insurance agent, and then she actually left to get a full-time job. And she told me, Vanitha, would you like to start working? And that was the first time that this thought of even working for somebody came up to me. And I said, why not? Let me start. And I think he used to pay me $5 an hour. But I think that first 2 weeks, normally the US follows a bi-monthly, a fortnightly payment. So after 15 days, when he put the salary in my hand, I thought, oh my God, I'm earning this because of my own...
The taste of independence.
Yes. So I think I made a decision that I will strive to become economically independent and not depend on anybody else for even small things.
Yeah. So, there's even today at 18, it's not easy to really know what you want to do. And there a lot of young people, men and especially women, are in situations that they don't imagine life is going to do. They dream of a certain kind of life and they're put in another one. You were placed there. Many don't recover from it.
Very true.
Then you steer the path that has been set. Then you become the best at the path that you've been put on.
Yes.
But you found a way back.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you had to think of 2-3 things that you did at that time that helped you get back, what would it be like in retrospect? At that point, it must have been crazy.
One thing is I was always open to new things. I never, I think humility and ego plays a huge role. See, if you look at it, I came from quite a privileged family, and the job that I was doing was being nothing great. It was like more of a steno role. And this was pre the computer age.
Yeah.
So everything had to be typewritten. It had to be filed manually.
Yeah.
So it was basically being a personal assistant to an insurance agent, take his phone calls and things like that. Normally, I think the mindset is, especially women shouldn't be doing such things.
Yeah.
But because I was in a different city, different country altogether, I think it allowed me that freedom to do whatever I wanted to. And I thought that make the best opportunity of whatever circumstances are thrown at you in life. So I think, and of course, I learned a lot from every role that I went through in the past. Whether it was just being a personal assistant to an insurance agent to today running a company. It's not that anything came with a manual to me or somebody taught me that this is the right way to do it. But I just sort of went ahead, plunged in and then learned to swim, as you would say metaphorically.
Absolutely.
So it is either sink or swim, and I chose that I shouldn't sink. So I did, whether it was a good swim or a bad swim, that I think people will tell. But then I did my level best in trying.
Yeah. So from personal assistant in Bay Area to CEO in Hyderabad, how does that full circle come back?
So see, then what happened is my husband then finished, and then we were to move back because he had to come back and take over this company. And so I came back. I didn't even graduate there in the US, though I did 3 semesters really well. I came onto the Dean's Honor list.
Yeah.
But then I didn't have a degree in hand. So after I came back, and then I had both my children by then, I was still thinking, oh my God, my friends,
prophecy is going to come true.
I mean, I'm going to still be an uneducated homemaker. So what I did is I first came back, I said, let me at least finish my graduation. So I went back to the university. I tried to get it through the distant mode, completed my bachelor's, and that gave me a little bit of confidence. Then what I did is, let me see if I could actually get a job. And who's going to give me a job in those, first of all, no experience and with no degree in hand also.
Correct.
So I then went to my grandfather and I said, see, I would like to work. I mean, I feel that I can do something. And I'm sure I will not get a job anywhere outside. So would you be able to do something for me? And I think he was taken aback because I don't think anybody ever came to him from family saying, we want to come and work, because he was always the one who actually invited my uncles or my, my brother or my cousin brothers to actually come, work for him. But then he took some time, and then he called me back and he said, okay, I'll make you the director in one of the companies. And though he had a bunch of manufacturing industries, he didn't choose to put me in any of those.
Yeah.
But he put me in the financial services company, which he felt I would do the least damage. And also it would be comfortable for me. Like, I didn't really have to deal with any of the outside.
It would also be comfortable for him.
Yes, definitely. I mean, see, I wouldn't be doing any damage there because maybe some wrong thing or something could have played a different story. But what happened is, though I joined the company, I really interacted with the outside world. It was just 2 or 3 people from the company itself, the senior people, who would come and sort of teach me and say that this is the way things work. But I really never dealt with vendors. I never dealt with suppliers. I rarely dealt with bankers or with anybody from the outside ecosystem. So I was probably more like a puppet, a figurehead. My grandfather must have thought, okay, at least let's see that she gets a good salary, a good title. So it was more of decorative.
She's just happy, yeah.
So, and I'm assuming, I mean, I really don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming that he would have thought that a few more months down the line,
she'll get bored.
Give up and she'll go out. So let me just keep her where she is right now.
Yeah.
But I just completed 30 years now in business.
You're still not bored.
Right. So I did work with him for 5 years. And then I moved on to my brother's company and worked with him for close to a decade.
Yeah.
And again, with my brother, it was actually a very male-dominated field. It was in the cement industry. But even there, the first few years, I was still always relegated to the minute things, not a major decision maker, not involved in the day-to-day operations, always there on the sidelines.
How frustrating is it for someone like you who's clearly, aspiring for more?
Not frustrating because I thought that was better than sitting at home. At least I did get up in the morning, go to office, come back. So, and of course, my children were still young, so I did have that flexible timing, which otherwise wouldn't have been a possibility if I was working in an outside setting. So I would leave for office after dropping my children at school and then come back when they would come back home. And during the kindergarten years, it was 12:31. And then as they started getting into higher classes, it was 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. But I rarely actually was part of the major operations. I was always on the periphery. I thought that was, as you said, today I might be frustrated, but back then I thought that was the better option that was available to me.
Yeah.
The other option was just sitting at home and being a homemaker.
Yeah. So there, just a month ago, we had a convening in Delhi, and we were talking about the art of self-promotion. And today, like in 2025, we had a room full of young women who were hesitating to ask when they really wanted something, because they would think that people will think I am flexing or I'm asserting where I shouldn't, or I'm asking for something I don't deserve.
True.
And this entire self-negotiation
Yes.
that completely, destabilize their own power in their own eyes. So when they
Yes.
went to ask, it was always from an apology. It was always so.
Yes.
This is happening even today.
Even today.
Right? For you to go and ask your grandparent, knowing he's a caring,
Yeah.
father figure for sure, but the fact that he gets surprised
Yes.
is and what bothers me is even today we have the same story
Very true.
in the same kind of families
Yes.
where women will be very hesitant to go and
Yes.
ask for that
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes. And I remember when I actually went and he did give me the job after a week or so. I mean, the women in my family, I mean, mother, and all of them were really stunned. And they were like, why, what do you want to, what is it that you want to go and prove?
Exactly.
And as it is, business is very tough and it's not a place where young women can, because I was about 25, 26 at that point of time. What is it that you can go and do? And why do you want to come out of your comfort zone? Comfort zone or stay at home and financially you're not, the family is not dependent on you earning another
Correct.
income. So why do you have to go and overstretch yourself?
Yes.
And I think that's the mindset that a lot of families have.
Yeah.
Um,
And the children will be spoiled.
Yes, yes.
They will be neglected and all of
Oh,
that.
that of course, I faced a lot of that, and every wrong thing that happened with my children
Was credited
the
to you.
blame came to me because I was not a stay-at-home mother.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, also my son went through all his teenage rebellion and all that was dumped onto me, saying that no, you're the culprit.
So how did you deal with that?
Of course, there
It's
were
so
days I
tough,
used to
no?
cry because at home this was there, and then at office I was not really given that the importance that I felt I should have been given.
Yeah.
So it was a tough struggle. It was difficult. There were days when I would cry, but at the end of it, I never wanted to quit because I thought that there had to be some way that I had to manage all of this.
Yeah, that's incredible optimism, or in an environment that is absolutely not encouraging you
Yeah, it
to do
is,
what
yeah.
you really want to do.
So another thing I felt is I didn't have a peer network or a group where I could actually go and share my story or my concerns or my fears, because see, these are the days before all the social networking and these big social groups that are available to me today. Those days, I don't think I had such a big network, and I really didn't have too many friends too, because we had moved back from the US and I hadn't made my social group as yet. So if I had any concern, the only people that I could share was with my family, and I knew for a fact that if
And the
I
family
shared,
would
they would
say, "Chhod do."
who's asking you? I mean, you've asked for it. No,
Yes.
who's asking you to get in? So I
Yes.
sort of bottled up everything in myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why now I'm sharing so much of it outside.
No, it is so important, because the tragedy again and
Yes.
again is that I don't think today women have it as different, as it
Yes.
should have been in the 30
Yes,
years.
yes,
In the 30
true.
years. But it will be very interesting. So when did this happy position that you were given
I think,
become serious?
When I was working with my brother, I think midway, I mean, I've almost spent a decade with him. So midway, a few of these women-centric organizations began, because there were very few women in senior positions those days, especially in manufacturing industries. So there were times when I would sort of interact on behalf of the company with the bankers. So somewhere I sort of got very little visibility there. And I think these women-centric organizations came and then spoke to me, and they wanted to ask me to come and be a part of them, which I did, because I thought, oh my God, now I can see
Someplace.
different women who are heading their
Yeah,
own
yeah.
organizations, and speaking with them was a whole different feeling, where we could share common pain points. We began traveling for conferences in different cities.
So you
in
had
India.
a tribe suddenly.
Suddenly it became, but it was still in a very nascent stage.
Yeah.
And then Women's Day would come and they would organize a program where I would go. And of course, I was still very hesitant to speak in public gatherings, but it slowly sort of began getting into my bloodstream. And I think that's when I realized that I could actually start adding a little bit more value than what I actually was doing in the business. And I think one major trip that I made to Manasarovar way back in 2004, that's almost about 20, 21 years back. I think that was a defining moment where I actually knew my own strengths. Because until then, I think women never look at themselves with their own eyes.
Correct.
You're always thinking about, okay, my husband said this to me, so therefore that is the way I am, or my brother said, or my father said, or my father-in-law said, or it's always their view of what you're looking at yourself.
Yeah.
But that is one trip that I can attribute where I actually understood my own strengths
What
for
happened
myself.
on that trip that was
So
different?
there were a lot of different scenarios that I think I was able to take charge. I was able to lead a few things. I was able to make decisions by myself, which I thought was better or was for the greater good of that entire group.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of men there, and there were a lot of men who were older, much older, a little bit older. And I felt that I was able to make certain decisions that impacted all of them in a positive manner. And I think I came back with renewed confidence. And then I began sort of opening my mouth and speaking in conferences, in meetings, trying to put my view. Because I always sort of underestimated my capabilities. I thought, see, I don't have an engineering degree.
Correct.
What value can I add in manufacturing companies?
Correct.
And I'm sure even if I open my mouth, somebody will put me down. So I think
Did
that
they, when you
inhibition-
finally started?
So it was a little surprising for them that I could come out with certain ideas. So people began looking at me with a different, way that, okay, she's making some sense now. And I think bit by bit, my confidence grew.
And did you ask again? Did you ask for power again?
No, I never did.
It had to come.
So then the second defining moment for me was in 2014 when I became the state chairperson for the Confederation of Indian Industry, which was again a very apprehensive moment for me because I've never ever done such a role before in my life. And heading an industry chamber for a newly formed state and interacting with government was a whole new ball game, and one had to be extremely diplomatic. They had to have information on fingertips, which I really wasn't prepared for. So those initial 1 or 2 meetings was very, very overwhelming for me. But then I learned a lesson. I thought that no, unless I'm prepared properly, it will be always difficult for me. And that's when I started preparing ahead of time, being more well versed with whatever was happening in the world. Because I think until then, my life was just office and home. And that's it. I mean, I wouldn't network. I really wouldn't care what the economy was all about. I really didn't know about industry. I just knew about my own company, and that's it. And I think a lot of women go through that. They sort of work in silos. It's just their work and then their family because they really don't have enough time or the bandwidth to share.
They're exhausted.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then I realized that, and that's when I think the difference of the diversity hit me. Wherever I went, it was all men, all men, all men. And I was the lone woman. And I could see a lot of discrimination happening in these circles too.
Yeah. Share some really. Like,
So
what would they look like?
Like, see, I went to Dubai. And I was the chairperson for Confederation of Indian Industry, and my vice chairperson also accompanied me. He's a man, a quite elderly man. And we were talking at this conference for potential investment into the state because the state had newly formed. And of course, Dubai and the Middle East is still very patriarchal.
Absolutely.
And when all these high net worth individuals were coming and meeting me, none of them actually came and spoke to me because I was the lone woman in that room. I'm assuming that they would have mistook me for the spouse of one of the visiting, industry people or the people from the government who also accompanied us. And that was a blatant discrimination. And then, I had to step in front and say, see, I'm the chairperson of CII. So, this is my card and any investment opportunities. And then in that conference, there was a panel discussion and then I spoke. And believe me, after the panel discussion, every single individual came back and said that you were the best speaker and you elucidated what exactly had to be done in terms of investment promotion. So then they realized that, okay, see, I was a woman of substance there. And there were numerous such incidents during that 2-year tenure that I had. I would be called to conferences to speak. As I'm usually very punctual, I go off ahead of time. I sit in the speaker's lounge. The other speakers come in. They don't even give me a second look, thinking that I'm really not that worth it.
Yeah.
But usually after the panel is over and I'm one of the best speakers, then they all come hand over their visiting cards.
How satisfying is this?
No,
or
but there's-
it's not satisfying. It's more. It's
No, but then
frustrating.
it is a little, unsettling, because I still have people who even today come and say, "Ma'am, do you go to office every day?"
No, really.
Yes. So, I mean, am I a decorative person to be like just coming to office whenever it suits me? Or, I mean, people are like that. No, men are like that. They still.
Yeah.
There was another conference which was on sustainability and on improving the environment. And I went as a representative of CII to that conference. There was this young man, maybe about in his 30s or something, and he had the guts to come and tell me, "Ma'am, I've always seen you in these conferences, but I thought you came from privilege and that you really didn't have much to say. But when I heard you speak, I thought, okay, you did come well prepared." And then he wanted me to mentor him. And I said, "How do you feel? I mean, after having that sort of opinion about me, how did you think that I could have
He thought he's giving you a compliment.
Yes. And then there was another gentleman who came and said, "Ma'am, when you were the CI chairperson, you were always on the papers, and that's because you're a woman. But I've not seen subsequent chairpersons of CII being that much in the paper. So just because you're a lady, I think media likes to highlight you." So people do come and say such things.
That is
and
extremely
they're very sexist,
frustrating. Yes,
it is.
yes. And in your own office, as your power roles,
Yes.
was there one moment or was there gradual moments?
Oh,
on
yeah,
how
because see, once
it
I
shook the
became
system, no?
So once I became the chairperson, I mean, nobody even within the family or within the the organization itself thought I had it in me to lead an industry forum.
Yeah.
But after those 2 years of doing it and doing it extremely well, I think people's attitude towards me has changed. And they've realized that, yes, she does have something. And of course, now recently with the PhD that I got, people say that, okay, yeah, she does have something.
So finally, it has been put to rest.
Finally. But then see, now I'm 57 and I've spent 30 years. But then I don't think men have it much more easier.
Yeah.
You just have to be there and they'll say, oh, because they're so very, very competent.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. But
Absolutely.
for us, we have to prove and reprove to everybody.
Yeah.
And sometimes even to ourselves, because with all that, that vibe that you get from people, you start to question yourself.
Yes.
And that imposter syndrome is always hovering around us.
Absolutely. And it used to be a part of your life, or is it still a part of your life?
It was. I think now I really have come to a stage where I really don't bother and don't care. But yes, even when I joined my PhD cohort,
even like recently,
that was about 4 years back. And when each of the cohort members were introducing themselves, I felt, oh my God, am I allowed to even sit in this cohort and be with all these stalwarts? Because they were all heading their own companies. And that too in the professional capacity. So I think that is one thing that still bothers me, because maybe I come from a family business background, that I was given certain privileges and that allowed me to come here. Whereas people who've come through the professional ladder have come on their own merit.
Yes.
So I think that always sort of sticks at the back of my mind, that had I not had these privileges, maybe I wouldn't have come to this level. But again, even people with privilege do not come to those levels. So I think, yes.
In fact, it is a double-edged sword, because in fact, being in a space of privilege has additional shackles in a way that others would not be able to see.
Very true.
So whatever you are facing, because you're sitting in on a high pedestal, it is considered as part of the deal.
Yes.
So
but I realize now that privilege will help open the doors, but then
what you do inside there is not.
Being in that space for 30 odd years is not privilege.
Yeah.
It is your sheer hard work and your determination, your grit and your resilience.
I'm so glad you're saying that.
No, it is.
It is so important for us to say that. It is very, very important. Yes. And in this journey, when in your regular course of business, when you would see something and say, all right, this has been happening for so many years, but I'd like to change the way it's happening. Was there backlash? Or because, see, family-owned businesses?
There is always backlash, and you have to take it in your stride. And if you believe in something more than what people are saying to you, you just take it with a pinch of salt, and you learn to ignore a lot of these things.
And what are some of the things you do when that happens?
See, when I go to any of these meetings and people are talking highly of some particular event, but then you see it's an all male event, then I say that what's great about it when you haven't even had one single lady to speak about it. So people today do snicker behind me and say, oh, Vanitha comes, no, she's going to
She talks
highlight.
empowerment.
Yeah, but then what to do if I don't talk? Who else is going to talk?
Yes. And with this, when you're balancing tradition, family,
Yes.
and wanting to instill
Yes.
modern techniques,
Yes.
values,
Yes.
how is that? It's a slippery slope, no?
It is because I mean, whatever you say can be thrown back at you also sometimes. So yes, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt.
In office, was there a moment where you said, that the first time when you felt power, what was that like?
I don't think that there was one single moment that I felt that power. Even today, I still always feel that maybe I still don't have complete power. See, in all the three organizations that I've worked with, my grandfather, with my brother, now with my husband, the general aura is that I'm the chairman's granddaughter, or I'm the chairman's sister in my second organization, and now I'm the chairman's wife. So I always feel that I'm not in the driving seat and I'm always second fiddle. And people also sort of treat you that way. When they know that there is somebody higher and higher authority above you, they don't give you the
seriousness or the gravity,
seriousness or the attention that you deserve.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've pointed it out. I've said that, see, unless you do listen to my advice or my recommendations or my suggestions, I'm just going to be another puppet here.
Yeah.
So there have been those conversations over the last so many years, and continues to happen, because I don't think, see, unless I'm going to be in the driving seat and the buck stops with me, I think that aura is always going to be there. And almost always, because you're a lady too. And I always keep telling to my grandfather, if I was the grandson, things would have been different. If to my brother, if I had been his brother, it would have been different. Also with my own husband, I say, what if I was your brother and in the business?
Yeah.
I'm sure we would have had so much of conflict.
But when you keep saying this again, over time, do you see them realizing that?
They do. And but then sometimes things are so ingrained that they override.
Yeah, that is also true.
So the unconscious bias, I think, is there. So
and
it's decades of patriarchy that's instilled in them.
Absolutely. And as a mother of a boy,
so I try my level best to see that that equal opportunities are given to both my son and daughter, and I do openly talk about these things, and I say that, see, this is not the things that you need to continue to, which again they throw back at me.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is a double-edged sword again.
But the importance, the two things that you're doing for your children. One is you're breaking a pattern,
lot of shackles,
generational shackles and
Yes,
traditional.
yes,
So
yes.
I believe that children watch and learn more than hear and learn.
They do.
Watching their mother go out
Yes,
and break
yes.
these shackles in spite
Yes.
of being spoken to a certain way,
Yes.
spoken about in a certain
So
way.
I think my son that way now is much more gender sensitive, because he has two girls now.
Oh.
So I think he does realize the role that he will need to play in future for them.
Yeah.
And I think that is a small victory for me too, because whatever I faced, I'm hoping that they will not face in future.
No, I mean, from everywhere that I see, when a woman takes a stand like this, she has
Yes.
impacted future generations.
Yes.
Like there will be generations who will refer to you as the one who changed the course,
Yes. So because, see, when we looked for alliances for my daughter, I mean, we ensured that she will have a say, she will continue with her education, she will have a career. So it was a given for them, not so when in our cases. So now I think the narrative has changed so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure when my granddaughters, I think it's going to be another 30, 40 years down the line, at least the barriers that we faced, I'm sure that they will not face, but they might have different barriers.
Yeah. As a mother, you have one way in which you can instill your values, but as a woman who is leading a company, again, which has such traditional values ingrained in it, how do you also infuse these values in the workforce that you have, whether it's in selection or in terms of how they operate with each other?
Yes. So I think a lot of those have to do with the HR policies that our institutions and our organizations have put into place. And we do ensure See, right now, my own organization, we have about 47% of women.
Oh my
and
God.
it is at every level. It's just not at the entry level. So we make sure that we have the team leads, we have managers, junior, senior. And another thing with us is that we have our employees be extremely loyal. We've had one set of employees been extremely loyal, that they've chosen to be with us for the last 40, 50 years now. And our organization is 65 years old. So we've got the old timers. There is one lady who started as an intern who's become a director on the board of one of our
Incredible.
subsidiary companies. So we've shown clear career paths for women if they've chosen to hold on despite their other personal milestones.
But women in STEM fields still have a huge amount of
Yes.
not women, the stereotype of women not
Yes.
understanding science, not
Yes.
being able to comprehend numbers.
No,
You know,
I
that
think
ridiculous.
all those have changed in our organization because we've got women across the board, different levels in the hierarchy and also in different departments, just not relegated to HR,
Yeah.
but to all departments, including R&D.
The one usually sees in situations like this, when status quo is changing, there is a huge chance of male resentment.
Yes.
And that would also not be unexpected, because
Yes.
again they're thinking world will operate in a certain way. Suddenly they see opportunities
Yes.
opened up.
Yes.
How does your
But
company
I
then deal with
think,
that?
see, for me, I think both me and my husband have been so open and progressive and in voicing out these issues that I think it's become part of the organization culture. So I don't see the resentment, especially within our own circles. And for me also to blossom out so much post these 3 decades, I think I would sort of call out on my husband's ability to support me.
Yes.
So I think he also has felt that there is a lot more to gain from allowing me to do what I love most.
Yeah.
To not only the family but to the organization itself, because he also has grown up in a very, very conservative family. My in-laws are much more conservative than what my own family was. They've never seen women working, and women were always the dutiful daughter-in-law, housebound, kitchen-bound.
Yeah.
But he lost his father at a very, very young age, and that sort of displaced his entire family. His mother went back to her maternal home. His sisters, one of his uncles took care of them, and he was taken care of by one of his own
My
uncles.
God.
So immediately on the death of his father, the entire family got disintegrated, which he felt was not a good thing for a family. And so one of I think the mindsets that he had when I showed my interest towards working is that he supported me, and he felt that in the event something happens to him, nothing that he went through in his childhood should happen to our family.
Yes.
So I think he stood by me and he supported me in my dreams, and whatever obstacles I faced, he was the one who championed me. And he said, and I think the one great thing that he did is whenever he listened to criticism and feedback about me, he chose to just stay silent about it. He didn't take sides.
Yeah. That's and that also highlights the extremely important role that a supportive spouse plays in this journey.
It does. Because if he was biased, it would have been really difficult for me to navigate this entire journey on a daily basis.
Today, a lot of young people are also questioning marriage as an institution because of conflict between the way they believe and the way they've been raised, and also this whole worry about will I find the person who will support my journey.
Yes.
When you see your children make those decisions, when you've made those decisions for them, what are some of the things that we should all keep in mind as we make life determining decisions like marriage?
So I think see, the whole point is have that conversation way ahead of time and being very clear about what your dreams are. And if your partner chooses to also have their own dreams, and if you can support one another, you don't have to really sacrifice your own dream and support your partner's dream. But if you can both parallelly run your own ambitions but support one another, I think that is one very crucial piece of advice that I normally give to students. I speak at a lot of colleges and campuses, and
so you hear the young people
yes,
speak
so
as well.
what I know that is when you're in college and you're the most smartest girl and active in everything, you're favored by all the boys. But what happens is these same boys who loved that extroverted girl, when it comes to marriage, they again want a dutiful homemaker.
Correct.
So I tell them, and then today you look at all the convocations, the women are getting all the gold medals, they're topping all the subjects, they're getting university ranks. But after a few years, what happens? They all stay at home,
Yeah.
and they do not add value to the economy, which is very necessary today in our country.
Yes.
So I tell all these boys that make sure that when you choose your life partner, ensure that they also do have dreams
Yeah.
and that you support their dreams.
Yes, whatever those dreams should be.
Whatever
That
it is.
It
Yes.
is, and that
Yes.
is such an important thing to say, because if we have this conversation ahead of time, like marriage
Yes.
is the most accidental,
Yes.
critical decision of ours.
Yes.
We leave it to too many,
Yes.
outlying.
And usually at these ceremonies, you have the parents of all these students also there. So that message does go out to them too, because they are also a very important factor in deciding the future of their own children.
Absolutely.
And probably choosing partners for them.
Absolutely. You've highlighted what this did, like what mentorship, what allyship,
Yes.
what this did to you.
Yes.
So basically, when
Yes.
you're suggesting to the young people to keep having these open conversations, you're also helping build that tribe.
Yes, yes.
Because without that, nothing is going to
Yes.
happen. We need
Yes.
more conversations for sure.
Definitely.
How do we make more organizations such as yours? See, maybe I'm repeating myself, but for you to want something so badly that no matter what happened, where life took you, there is a fire, there is an ambition, and yes, you have a supportive spouse, but there is also this a tendency to fall into the comfort trap,
Yes.
and also to say, "Acha, this much kar liya, enough."
Yeah, that's true.
This is as women who do not have supportive environments but a lot of potential, who with every passing year think less and less of themselves.
True.
How do we hold on to our self-worth in this very noisy ecosystem?
See, what worked for me was that passion did not subside with the environment, with the ecosystem, with the constant negativity that I was subjected to. It still stayed there. So I think at the end of it, a woman, unless she has it in her to do something, she will then definitely get the strength to face whatever challenges, because life will throw challenges. It's never going to be a bed of roses. But you cannot use every thorn as an excuse to give up on your dream. So ultimately, I think the responsibility is with the lady or with the girl.
Yes. And as a leader, if you're looking at not simply women participating,
Yeah.
but there being more women standing with you in leadership roles.
Yes. Yes.
Some things that you have done that you think should become industry requirements.
It should. And I keep telling women that no, challenges will happen, milestone events will happen. You could take breaks, but ensure that you come back, because unless you come back, you will never get to the top. And it is only at the top that you can make some changes.
In your line of work, do you see coming back as difficult as people think, or
It is
experience?
difficult because, there will be challenges. There will be a lot of learning, a lot of knowledge that you might have to skill yourself with, the latest skills that one will need to. But then today, I think a lot of it is available. You can, if there is a will, there is a way. I think that definitely is the underlying.
From the individual level, but from an institutional level, what do companies need to do better?
So the institutions also will have to have women at the top to be able to help this in a sustainable fashion.
Yes.
If that doesn't happen, and how do you do that? So maybe a generation will have to struggle. But if there are more women who get to the top and sit at the top and stay at the top, then these things will become life-defining for the next generation. Otherwise, it's like, you come to the top and then you fall off. And that will always happen.
There is a myth. I believe it's a myth. You have to tell me if you believe it's true, that women are a woman's worst enemy, and they do not allow others to join the brigade.
It's not a myth. It has happened.
To you also?
Yes, it has happened. But that's again another challenge that one will have to see how to navigate and override. That's it.
Yeah. The tribe has to increase, and
It
the
has
tribe
to.
has to want more women at the table.
See, out of 100 women, there will be 10 who will pull you down, but then
Yeah.
other 90 will be there to support you, to give you that support and push you over. So choose that 90, be alert, and choose wisely
Yeah.
the group that you'd like to be in.
Yes. And when you network, like you chose
Yeah.
your group, when you
Yes.
networking again means very different things for what
Yes.
men.
Yes.
I've also met so many women who believe that they are horrible at networking
Yes.
because in their heads, it's very clear networking means going out for cigarettes,
Yes.
late night parties.
Yes.
I have found that a little problematic in terms of defining what networking
Yes,
looks like. Do you
yes.
feel the same way on that?
Initially, I used to be inhibited because most of these events are sort of had in the evening times where otherwise you would
Yeah.
spend time at home. And but then see, as your children grow and you have lesser of responsibilities back at home, then you can afford to put some time into those activities. So it again all depends on the stage that you are at. If you are a young mother, if you are a young wife, then you really don't have to go and network out every evening. But then choose those one or two major events that can actually define things for you,
Yeah.
that can help you get into touch or give you connections that can actually help you in the longer run.
Yes.
So I think networking has to again also be thought of like an art and a science where you do
Yeah.
it intentionally.
And not look at
not
every-
just that look at everything that okay, I have to be there and I have to do
Yeah,
that.
that
So
pressure of being everywhere will not work.
it's not necessary.
And I think my final question actually is that people and women talk a lot about work-life balance all the
Yes.
time. You think that is even possible?
It is, and I think, see, I was able to make it work for me. Wherever I could take help, I've taken help. I've lent into places because from a family business. I could have that flexibility. Maybe for a working professional, it could have been very, very difficult. But I've seen women who are at the top, at the senior most positions, and they do have a work-life balance. See, I think it is more of a prioritization, and you cut down things that are not really going to help you, and give more time to what will
Yeah.
give you pleasure and also what you're passionate about.
What is the one thing you miss, like which you had to cut down to have your own sanity in place?
I don't think I ever came to that sort of a position. So I think I'm one of the lucky few who've had it all, because I did dabble in a lot of things at different stages in my life.
Yeah.
So I think today I'm at 57, and if you ask me, I've almost seen it all and done it all. So
So when I had met you, or I hadn't met you, when I had heard you first time, I was completely in awe of not just your story, because this is actually the story of many women. But
Yes.
I was in awe of the spirit that you wanted your space under the sun, you wanted to make it, and somehow it's like water. You just forged
Yes.
your own path.
I did that.
And
yes.
if you don't give me this, I will do 5 other things, and
Yes.
out of 5 maybe I'll do 5 other things. And
Yes.
I felt so inspired by this whole method in this madness of where will I land, and I'm so glad you've landed where you have, because now we get to see somebody like you break out from what stereotypically we assume women from a certain stature and income group need to look and be and talk like.
Yes.
So that has been incredible.
So I think somewhere in that journey, I've also realized that not only impacting my own self and my own life, and making me in a better position from where I used to be, in that journey I've been able to help a lot more. And I think that has become, it's sort of superseded my own wants and desires, where I feel that if I'm able to help at least 1-2 more to get to their own dreams, I
Yeah.
think that gives me more satisfaction today.
No, you've not helped just 1-2 more. I can safely tell you've helped many. And what your life and the way you've demonstrated and lived it will be, and is already, a source of great inspiration to many young women who are entering this field and feeling daunted about the possibilities that lie ahead. And thank you so much for being so candid and so clear in how you spoke with us.
Thank you.
So
No, thank you
open.
for giving me this opportunity.
No, I'm glad. Thank you. And more power to you. And I think you're only 57, and there's a lot more. We're going to be
Yes.
following you and watching your journey and being inspired from it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.